Okay, although the new school year has not started just yet, high school athletes, they're already back to practicing. This morning, we're talking about a problem that many young male athletes face. They want to become stronger, but often they struggle with gaining muscle mass. So I'm here with Dr. Emily Cooper now, our Get Fit team doctor, also founder of the Diabesity Research Foundation, author of The Metabolic Storm. So this can be a problem, right?
It can.
Why?
Well, as kids are going back to school, many are participating now in team sports, and in order to become stronger athletes, they're trying to build muscle mass. And what I see in my office is many complaints that in spite of serious weight training, they're not really seeing the results. And you have to keep in mind that after puberty, it is easier to build muscle, but many adult men don't have a muscular build. So that's a lot, determined genetically. So you have to consider that. But the biggest error I see is actually underfueling. And it's easy to see why, because team sports burn 500 to 1,000 calories an hour, and it can be difficult to eat enough to keep up with that. And so it's hard to stay in what's called a positive energy balance.
500 to 1,000 an hour.
Yes.
Especially for teenagers, especially for high school athletes.
Yes.
And so if they're trying to build mass, they need to eat a lot more food, right? A lot more food. So if they're not eating enough, it affects their ability to gain muscle. What should they do?
Well, it does, because lean mass kind of depends on a lot of fuel. And lean mass is muscle, tendon, ligaments, bone, basically all the body's components that are not fat mass. And it depends on a significant amount of fuel, not only to build it, but also to maintain it. So if you don't get enough fuel, you actually break down the lean mass that you already have in order to convert to fuel.
So I see a lot of guys think that weight training will then help to build the muscle mass. Does that work?
Well, it does. If it's properly fueled, it does. And it's important to think about young boys under 16. They really shouldn't be lifting heavy weights, and we have a graphic to show this. They should actually be focused more on body mechanics and proper form, higher repetitions, lower weights, and then only as they get older, increase the weights gradually and decrease the reps. So only adults should actually be doing maximal strength training.
But still not heavy weights?
No.
Why? Why is it
adults.
detrimental?
Well, they don't really have the testosterone yet that helps them, and they don't have, they're still building and remodeling bone. So it's much more important to focus on form.
So it comes down to food and exercise.
And the
mostly
other thing,
food.
yeah, mostly food, but the other thing people don't think about is sleep. Because muscles are built and repaired while we're asleep. And this graphic shows that there's a magic triad: optimal fueling, including daily and sports fueling, adequate sleep, and this strength exercise to help stimulate muscles to build and repair.
And I know we've talked before, because sometimes you see young athletes, even teenagers, with extra muscle.
Yes, we do.
And that could also be indicative of some health issues, right?
If you think that your child is actually building extra mass, both muscle mass and fat mass, they may have something called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is characterized by high insulin levels. And since insulin is an anabolic hormone, it actually helps build both muscle and fat mass. So some other symptoms would be a rash, a rough rash, darkening of the skin. You could have increased belly fat, fatigue. So if you think your child is experiencing any of these,
stretch marks,
stretch marks also,
their arms.
Yes, absolutely, stretch marks. And so if any of these are observed, it's a good idea to go to a doctor to actually have them checked. And the test that's the best is really fasting glucose and insulin levels to see if their insulin levels are elevated.
Because if they have insulin resistance, even at a super young age,
it can lead to pre-diabetes. So it is more common in people who have a family history of diabetes or obesity.
Okay, so, but for kids, young athletes who are starting to train, who are already back at it, like for football, it's soccer, fueling
sleep,
is
number one. Sleep,
exercise.
And exercise.
All right, Dr. Emily Cooper,
balance.
Always great to see you.
Great
Thanks
to see
so
you
much.
too.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.